The Boy Who Changed His World, written by Robert Whanslaw, narrated by Christopher Lloyd Owen. Chapter 1, 1971. This was the day life changed. No blacks, no dogs, no Irish was what welcomed Michael. Every bed and breakfast window offered rejection. Brought up on a council estate in Belfast to parents with little time for him, he moved to Kent on the southeast coast of England at age 15. Some say it was the luck of the Irish, but Michael knew there was no such thing. Determined to fit in and make a success of his life, he kept his head down and worked hard, became part of society and worked his way through the ranks and learnt on the job. Each day he picked up new skills in the trade, and the prejudices spat his way helped him master the art of how to deal with people, the biggest part of being the boss. Early on, he learnt that those who worked for you had to respect you. You had to be able to read people, and most of the time he got it correct. A Jaguar E-Type, a car he could only have dreamt about when he was younger. During the day, it shined like a diamond on display in a jeweller's window, but it took on a darker shade in the current light. Its British racing green factory colour could be mistaken for black. He fumbled inside his pocket to find the key. After several attempts, revealing his success to the man stood next to him with the raincoat on and hood over his head, protecting him from the rain and at the same time obscuring his face, he took the key from Michael and opened the door. With arms outstretched, hands rested on Michael's shoulders, the man helped guide him into the luxury tanned leather seat. A slow and deep voice, many octaves below regular pitch, spoke. "Drive carefully." Michael tried to make sense of this unfamiliar world, but too confused to take everything in, he focused on the steering in front of him. "Drive fast and don't let the fuzz catch you." Fuzz. Catch you. Drive fast. The words echoed in the non-existent canyons of the Kent countryside. Michael turned the key in the ignition and the engine roared into life. First gear found with a crunch and then out of the shingled driveway, narrowly avoiding the wrought iron gates by inches, pulled onto the main road leading from Canterbury to Whitstable. Michael had driven the road many times before, aware of the smooth, undulating surface offering a gentle, wave-like, relaxing motion to the drive. But the climb seemed steeper tonight. The car struggled to make the climb. He pressed hard down on the accelerator to give the car more power, but then the road melted into a level, even surface. Tonight's game had gone well. He palmed the outside of his jacket pocket to check he had remembered his winnings. Thursday nights had been poker night for the last year. Tonight, made up of the usual crowd, business associates from the building trade, and one or two extras each week to keep the interest and excitement rolling. There had been more extras this week than usual. He was pleased with that, evidenced by the bulge of banknotes he had confirmed, with his hand caressing the outside of his jacket's breast pocket. It had been so good that he folded on his last hand with a pair of aces, a pair of eights, and the Queen of Hearts. A guaranteed win, but why take chances? Those days were behind him. Leaning over to turn the radio on, he jumped back when a voice came from behind him. "Hello?" A soft, gentle voice. Michael looked in his rear-view mirror, but saw no one. Again the soft, gentle voice spoke, this time distinctly childlike. "Hello? Hello, Michael?" This time he twisted himself around but still saw nothing. As he turned back to face forward, he jumped in shock, losing control as his hands fell from the steering wheel. Regaining control, he looked at the young girl with blonde hair sitting beside him in the passenger seat. "What the hell? Where the hell did you come from?" "I'm from your mind, Michael. I'm inside you, of course." "What?" He wanted to scream, wondering if and hoping it would make her and the nightmare disappear. Always a rational thinker, solving problems, he continued the conversation of madness. "Who are you?" "I'm Alice." He looked at her, dressed in a puffed-sleeve blue dress and white pinafore. Was this some elaborate joke played by the guys at the card game? But how had she got into the car? It was impossible, for there was nowhere to hide in a two-seater sports car. He laughed to hide his fear and confusion. What? Alice in Wonderland? Of course. Do you know the story? The colour of her dress faded from blue to green. See? I'm still Alice in Wonderland. I don't know what the fuck you are, but I'm going to stop, and you are going to get out of this car. Pressing his foot on the brake, the car sped up. He looked down to check he had connected with the correct pedal. He had. Returning his view to Alice, or whoever this girl was, her dress had now changed colour to yellow. You see, Michael, sometimes they will lie to you. She smiled as if it was some game she was playing before continuing, And do you know what the moral of the story is? What? No, I don't. Please tell. He questioned now in anger from the confusion. Sometimes they don't have morals. The car veered off to the wrong side of the road. He clicked the stick on the side of the steering column to activate the wipers to clear the windscreen. Ready to confront Alice, find out who had set her up, he looked at her and was about to speak but froze when her face, with its pinkish, youthful complexion, started to become pale and her red lips faded grey and bloodless. Her face began forming wrinkles, aging at an unnatural speed. Again he checked the road ahead, and when he returned his eyes to where she had been sat, there was nothing but an empty seat. She was gone. With only a little over 2 miles from home, he pressed down further on the accelerator as he took a sharp left bend, again almost losing control of the car. He didn't care. He just wanted to get home. Trying to concentrate on the road ahead, but struggling, confused by what had happened. Losing control of his senses frightened him. He knew it had nothing to do with what he had drunk. One whisky was all he had throughout the whole evening. Drinking had never been his thing. The rain, now heavier, made it even harder to see. He clicked the wipers to rapid speed in the hope of clearer vision. With each swipe of the blades, they removed the torrent of water falling from the heavens. Each time, for a matter of seconds, the view of the road would become clear and then obscured again by further gushes of water thrown at the windscreen. Sweat trickled down his forehead and into his eyes. He slid the heater peg to blue, trying to cool the car. Now, in the middle of the night, in winter, he was burning up. A car 6 months old. Surely the thermostat couldn't be malfunctioning. Still the heat increased. It didn't matter, he told himself, with fewer than 2 miles from home. Increasing his grip on the steering wheel, he focused with fixed eyes glued on the road ahead. In his hands, the wood-rimmed steering wheel became softer. Melting in his hands, he turned the wheel, but it was mush. He smashed his hand against the side window, willing control back into his life, and for the madness to disappear. And it did. The steering wheel returned itself to its normal state. The temperature in the car dropped while the wipers continued their job, wading away the water. Ahead, the water attacked the road as another voice came from his side. "Dad?" A gentle voice, as soft and as innocent as Alice's had been earlier. But this voice he recognised. Terrified, hearing his son's voice, he turned quickly to look. But the seat remained empty as he forced down a desire to scream. In an attempt to avoid distraction, he focused on the road ahead. Rain blocked his view until the wipers did their job to provide desperate seconds of clear vision. Unforgiving, the rain came again. The wipers helplessly fought against the bombardment. Another swipe of the blades cleared his view, and in the direct path his car hurtled stood his son. He pulled hard and fast on the wheel, trying to avoid his 9-year-old boy. A sigh of relief expelled with the belief he had avoided killing his son. He relaxed, thinking he would be home soon, but his eyes opened wide, for in front of him stood a red telephone box on the bend. Too close to avoid, the force of the impact smashed Michael's ribs against the steering wheel. The sound of the crack as a twig snapped underfoot in the woods, followed by immeasurable pain scraping through him. His neck flopped forward like a rag doll, hitting the windscreen before throwing him back again into the seat with force. He sat still, breathing pure rawness. The salty taste of blood touched his tongue after its journey from rolling down his forehead. Life drained, his existence limited to seconds. He looked at the rearview mirror with a lightning bolt crack split through it, doubling up the image of the road behind. His son looking on towards the Jaguar E-Type mangled against the red telephone box. Their eyes met. The boy turned his back on the scene and walked away in the opposite direction. 2 police cars and an ambulance arrived within 15 minutes. They had already been alerted by reports of a vehicle driving recklessly out of control down Radfall Hill, Whitstable. Michael McNabb's death certificate recorded it as an accident. Tests showed the alcohol in his body was within the legal limit. His 9-year-old son did not attend the funeral.